We have quality products and smart selection for your better health. Come see us at Lowry Drug on Harkness Road in Statesville. Call 704-873-2247. Come see us.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Well, good afternoon, Lake Norman, and welcome to Town Talk. We're coming to you live from WSIC, the Real Talk studio, nestled on the banks of beautiful Lake Norman, streaming worldwide from Mount Kilimanjaro to Wadesboro, North Carolina, population 5,038 people. I'm your host, Bill Russell, president of Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce, the largest chamber of commerce in the Charlotte region. My guests today are Solonia Wade-Baskins. She's the owner of Progressive Business Finance. Chris Hailey, the owner of Lucius-James Consulting, and James Smith, the founder of My Outdoor Joy. My producer, Bill Blakely, in the other room. Bill, do you know the significance of Wadesboro, North Carolina?
Not off the top of my head.
Don't know the significance? Well, first off, PD National Wildlife Refuge, great recreational venue, and it's also the home of Chris Hailey, where Chris grew up.
Absolutely.
Now
And
that I did know. I did overhear that.
And how long did you live there?
Just through high school.
Just through high school.
Yes.
And Mount Kilimanjaro. Tell me what you know about Mount Kilimanjaro, Bill.
Nothing. You're stumping me right now.
Mount Kilimanjaro, located in Tanzania. Mount Kilimanjaro is the African continent's highest peak, 5,895 meters or 19,340 feet. And somebody in this room scaled that sucker.
His name's not Bill Russell.
What, it was not. Solonia, have you climbed Mount Kilimanjaro?
Absolutely not.
Chris, have you?
No.
You haven't gone? Okay, well, okay. One last person, James.
Only took 9 days.
9 days. 9 days. So Mount Kilimanjaro. Today actually marks Malcolm X, who articulated the concepts of racial pride and black nationalism in the United States, was assassinated this day in 1965. We're going to talk about that in a little while. And tomorrow, whose birthday is it tomorrow? Anybody got an idea? Nope, nobody?
Birthday.
Washington's birthday.
Oh, yes.
George Washington's birthday. And I have some fun facts about George Washington. Bill?
Lay it on me.
Yep. The first one was George Washington was mostly self-educated. Did you know that?
I did not, but I can relate.
Something that probably everybody knows, he was fearless in battle. And we can see that.
I can see that, yep.
His bold actions saved the American Revolution not once, but twice. He never abused power. He owned more than 50,000 acres and was an ardent promoter of Western expansion. 50,000 acres. You could do something on 50,000 acres, James.
Pretty much. You'd never see me again.
Washington loved parties and was an excellent dancer. Are you an excellent dancer?
I love to dance.
I bet you do.
Yes.
I can see that. I can see that in your eyes.
In my high heels.
You can do it in the high heels. Washington was the first to sign the United States Constitution. He was unanimously elected president twice. Unanimously. He was a true agricultural innovator and pioneer. And lastly, Washington is the only slave-owning president who freed his slaves. George Washington.
And
So
tomorrow is his birthday. Okay.
tomorrow is his birthday. Solonia Wade-Baskins,
Yes.
you are the co-owner of Progressive Business and Finance,
Yes.
with your husband, Sam,
Yes.
or sometimes you call him Sammy.
I call him Sammy. Yes. or when I get upset, Mr. Baskins. Or
Mr. Baskins.
Or I say, Baskins, don't start with me today.
So what is Progressive Business and Finance?
So Progressive Business and Finance is a way that we can give back to the community. And what we specialize in is commercial and business lending in a non-traditional alternative way. And so what that means is we use private lenders and investors to help businesses, investors to grow, expand, invest their money when they're rejected by the banks. So in a good way to say it is I tell business owners, when your business is not mature enough for the bank for whichever reason, maybe it's not enough time, maybe it's a low credit score, whichever reason, we are your go-to people. So we use private lenders and investors to help you get the funds that you need to help your business progress in the way it needs to progress so that you can be successful.
Did I see you were a double major in finance? Is it?
I am a double major, and I have a MS of accountancy and I have an MBA with a concentration in risk management. Yes.
What's your target market? I mean, are most of your clients here in the Lake Norman region, or are they spread out?
We spread out, but we like to start in the community that we're in. We live in Huntersville. So as you know, the Bible says charity starts at home. So of course we like to start the charity at home, but we're all over. We go to Charlotte, we go to Mooresville. We can do work in all 50 states, South Carolina, New Jersey, where I'm from. And so we have the intention of just spreading generational wealth throughout our families, throughout communities, within our generation that's coming up behind us, within our youth, so that they can understand the cash flow, how cash flow works, how finance works, what it means to invest and make responsible financial decisions with their money.
Now, you've been doing this for 20 years?
Accounting?
Yeah.
Yes, I have been in accounting for 20 years. My most recent job, besides having the business, is I was accounting in a nonprofit foundation in Manhattan, and I did that for 10 plus years.
How did you and Sammy get into this particular business? How did you know you wanted to do this?
Again, we knew that we wanted to build generational wealth within the community, right? We knew, and generational wealth does not always mean financially. It can mean educating people and giving them knowledge on what they need to know. We understand that people, once you teach people something and they have the knowledge and they're no longer ignorant to the subject, they can thrive, they can grow, they can expand. And so we realize that people sometimes financially do not understand it. We understand that business owners love what they do, right? If you are a consultant, you love to consult people. If you climb the mountains, you love to do that. You love to do what you do, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you understand the foundation of a business, which means financial situation, which means getting your finances in order and your cash flow. And so we wanted to bring financial literacy to people, to our community, to families, because we understand that if you are financially healthy and you have the wealth of financial knowledge, you have more time for your family. You have financial freedom. It causes less stress, meaning you are more healthy in a physical way. And so
we got about a minute before we go to break. What's the perfect client for you? I mean, what business are you looking for, or should be looking to you for their service?
We want a business owner. The perfect client is someone who's obviously been turned down by the bank, people who are or who's tired of the bank, and someone who wants to think, because we are ready to expand people's thought and their minds and their knowledge on what people may have their culture of understanding business and how cash flow works. We want to broaden that. And if you have an open mind and you're ready to invest and build, come to us and we're ready to see you.
Chris, Solonia is not only involved in this, she's also one of our Chamber of Commerce ambassadors, and she and her husband Sam are very active in attending networking events. As a matter of fact, Chris and I started in Rotary together, or we were in Rotary together, and today took Sam to the North Meck Rotary Club, and he got a chance to see what we do in Rotary. So it was good having him there. We're going to go to a break here from our sponsors on Town Talk. Come back with us, and we will talk to Chris Hailey in just a second. For those of you who are streaming with us on all of our other social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, a whole host of other things, we're doing podcasts on Spotify. We're all over the place. We are all over the place. But thank you for staying with us. The Chamber of Commerce had a busy week. Last Thursday, we recognized our 2024 Educators of the Year. Jacqueline Clark from Langtree Charter was recognized. We always recognize a charter school, a private school, and a CMS school. Karen Powell with Grace Covenant Academy here in Cornelius, and Kimberly Cortland was with Marrancas Middle College High School. Now, have you been to Marrancas's Middle College High School since they located? Yeah. Kimberly Cortland, recognized as also with our Educator of the Year. Our keynote speaker was Chris Marsicano. He spoke to us. He's assistant professor of public policy at Davidson College. And our Inspire Our Future Award went to Champion Tire and Wheel. You remember Kevin Mall.
Mm-hmm.
But Kevin Mall and his organization was recognized. They're working with our students, doing apprenticeships and internships and vocational training. Worked with us on our Junior and Adult Leadership Lake Norman program. But that was a fantastic program. So I really appreciate everybody who came out and supported that. Our WINS meeting, again, a couple of weeks ago, had 53 women there at H2. We've moved it to H2 Public House. It meets the second Tuesday of every month. March 12th is the next event. And Solonia, who's our next speaker?
Me. I'm the highlight speaker. I'm the highlight speaker. Yes. So come out.
What are you going to be talking about for that particular meeting?
I am going to be talking about lending. I am also going to be talking about customer financing, and I am going to be talking about creating real estate investors. So I am excited. I am excited to bring this to the women. We go into the WINS Lake Norman, and it is powerful, engaging, supportive women. And I'm just excited to bring this information into them because I know that they are going to run with it, and they're going to be doing great things in the future. So I'm excited to be a part of that.
Well, we're excited to have you. In a little while, we'll get into maybe what WINS is and why people should come out to it.
Yes.
For those of you who are streaming with us, we're going back live on Town Talk. Thank you for being with us, and we'll get right back there in just a few seconds.
Your event today.
It's Town Talk with Lake Norman Chamber President Bill Russell on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Welcome back to Town Talk. I'm Bill Russell. My guest today, Solonia Wade-Baskins from the Progressive Business Finance. Chris Hailey, owner of Lucius-James Consulting. James Smith, founder of My Outdoor Joy. And just before we went to break, Solonia, we were talking about some of the things that you've been involved in. You go to a lot of our networking events. You and Sammy, I can't really recall having a networking event in the last year that you haven't been a part of. Why is networking important for any small business?
Networking is super important. First of all, the people are fantastic. You get out, you get to know your community, the people who you are serving, because you are doing a service to the people around you, and you get to know them personally and build those relationships. You get to know about their families, their children, their spouses, and it's just such a blissful thing when you can build a family, right? And so networking it's awesome. And then once you start networking, you realize you have how many, 20, 30 networkers that is working for your business because you build a relationship. They know what you do. They like you as a person. And now they're telling other people about you. And so I always tell businesses, when you are a new business or any business at all, you need to network. For one, you need to let people know that you exist.
Right,
you need to let them know that you're there, what you do. And for two, you need to know the people that you're servicing. Right. You need to get to know them. What are their needs? Because as a business owner, you want to be valuable, you want to be accessible, and you want people to know who you are. You want them to genuinely like you. And so networking is so important. I tell people, network, get out there, know who you're serving, let them know who you are. Allow people to feel your passion and you feel theirs. And Chris, so it's very important.
Chris, you served on my board for 6 years. Would you believe that in 2023, we did 98 networking, had 98 networking events? That's 2 networking events a week.
Yes.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Absolutely. Those networking opportunities taught me how to network.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know how to network.
True.
So it's an art to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Before we leave Progressive, again, what are some of the services you provide for a small business?
So for a small business, we provide commercial lending. We do business lines of credits. We do business loans. We do equity loans. We do customer financing when we allow a business owner to offer customer financing to their customer, in which now the business owner, it's a great way, a great payment option for a business to offer this to the customer. It eliminates month-to-month payments. It maintains a healthy relationship between the business owner and the client because you no longer have to chase people for money, right? It maintains a healthy relationship. People tend to buy more when they feel like they can afford your service, and so they want top notch, and they refer you more because they're excited about who you are. They're excited about the business and the value that you bring, the service that it brings, and most importantly, is no risk to the business. The business is paid the full amount of the invoice that is for the customer. They're paid the full amount of the invoice within 24 to 72 hours. And so the payback relationship is no longer between the business owner and the customer, it's between the customer and the lender. And so the relationship is seamless, and it's a great way to grow a business. Totally.
Chris, I was talking about, you growing up in Wadesboro and the great outdoors and all the recreational aspects of where you grew up in Wadesboro. Probably nobody sitting at this table, though, is more involved in the great outdoors than James Smith. Again, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. You are the founder of My Outdoor Joy. And explain to people what exactly is My Outdoor Joy?
We are adult recess at its best.
A great way to put it.
We focus on educating people who have limited to intermediate experience in the outdoors and teaching them the skills necessary to participate in different events. We go from hiking all the way up to scuba diving and skydiving, and our mission is to get more people outdoors. No one in our group is an expert. You don't have to feel intimidated. You're not sitting there with Bear Grylls. You're not sitting there with a bunch of Navy SEALs. We want people to come out and explore. And one of the things that happened over the last few years with COVID, everybody said distance, go outside. But what happens when you don't know what to do when you get outside is a question that very few people thought about. So for us, our goal was to take those people and put them in environments in which they could progress. From camping to hiking, we start off in a classroom. No one goes out into the woods. No one goes out on a kayak. We start in a classroom. We teach them. We answer the questions that they all have. If I have another question about a bear, a snake, a lion, a tiger, or elephant, we can answer that. And I've had to tell people there are no elephants walking around North Carolina. People actually have had these kind of questions. This is a real fear.
Yeah.
So if we can alleviate their fears, we're more likely to get them to participate in other events and to take their expectations or their realities and make them real. So a great example, we go camping, we start off with a camping class, and then I bring a big tent out that's got a queen size bed in it with sheets and pillows, and they said, well, I thought I had to sleep on the ground. Well, who told you that? We're answering those questions for people, and that's such an important factor for adults because kids don't care. I took a kid on a camp out. He didn't want to go home. His parents, on the other hand, that first night, they had all kind of questions. But we are adult recess. We are out having a great time.
Now, James, I know My Outdoor Joy has memberships. Are memberships required to participate in your group?
They are not. What we want is for people to come out, enjoy the events, and if they find that they're going to be in multiple events, they're going to come out to multiple classes, or they're going to travel with us, it really is conducive to get a membership, which is, $100-something. It's pretty cheap. We've got a class of people going to Tanzania next year. You can't go without a membership. So there are some definite membership perks, and we want people to take advantage of that. We want people to kind of knock on the door, see what it's like, come out into a class. But if you're serious about it, the membership is obviously the way to go.
Right. And is this open to the public?
It is open to the public. Anyone can show up. We do have a funny restriction. We do want members to be over 27 years old because we don't want, there are too many organizations that deal with kids. So we want adults to come out. Now, they can bring their kids, but we want the membership to be typically adults.
Right.
It's a good way for them to go out and explore, learn new skills, and then go home and tell their kid, hey, I know how to camp now. Let's go.
Right.
That's the goal for us.
Yeah. And I know you put on classes on how to navigate and how to prepare for backpacking. You put on those classes.
Yes, we have a series of classes, probably 15, 20 classes that we offer. And they range. They do range from what is a hike as opposed to walking? What is backpacking? What is camping? How do I get into a kayak? How do I, you know, do prepping? One of the biggest things that's come up recently is people aren't prepared for emergencies. So one of the things we've started teaching are basic survival skills, and not from the apocalyptic survival skills. We got bigger problems if that happens. But if you were in a Katrina, or you were in a Hurricane Hugo, could you actually last in your house more than a few days? And the average person says, I got about 2 days. And in North Carolina, if we even talk about snow, every store is packed. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a real problem. We should be prepared for at least a week.
And if anybody wanted to know about anything that you're talking about, they can go to myoutdoorjoy.com.
Absolutely.
And there are classes for beginners and intermediary?
Well, typically, intermediates are beginners who have watched YouTube. So they don't really have a lot of practical experience. So what we're doing is we're providing the practical experience. One of the challenges we have often is that people assume they have a level of knowledge, which they don't really have. And YouTube is not a substitute for real experience. And so what we've seen recently is we get this onset of YouTube experts. Last night we did scuba diving at the YMCA. Guy gets in the water, and we immediately know he's a beginner. Everybody in that class does not know how to scuba dive.
What gave it away?
Well, when he went underwater and said he couldn't breathe, and we said, well, you probably want to put the regulator in your mouth. And it was hilarious because we watched him come into the class, tell me he had gone to, I'm not going to mention the resort, and he had learned how to scuba dive, and we just let him go. Now, we're only in 3 feet of water, so he wasn't going to he wasn't going to get hurt, but it was literally hilarious for myself and the instructors just to let him go. And I was like, we're going to prove something here.
Now, a question regarding that. So let's just say you were going to be learning how to scuba dive. Do you have to have your own equipment, or you provide that?
We provide everything. So the goal for us is to take down the barriers of being outside. So if you're going camping, we typically, as a member, here's a great member benefit. We provide the tents. We provide a lot of the equipment that you need. On a class like scuba diving, you just show up because we don't expect anybody to have scuba gear. Right. So it's a great experience with limited, really, resources needed by the participants. Just show up in a swimsuit and a t-shirt.
Now, you talked about some of the trips, and have you encountered any of these wild animals, these elephants and things that you're talking about?
I've encountered quite a few, but I'm used to it, and I'm trained to deal with it. I've got a great picture that I hold up in my, it's in my phone, it's on my house, where I ran into this gigantic bear a few years ago, and I was out backpacking in Alaska, and had the unfortunate experience of running into a polar bear, which is really, a lethal weapon on steroids. But my buddy was there. He told me how to deal with it, and we were okay. But, I did have to change my underwear.
Now we've got about 30 seconds. I want to ask a question. If you're a young parent, can you bring your kids to these classes?
Yes, we are family friendly. We want the adults to learn the skills. We want them to bring their kids. So we want everyone to participate, but we want the membership to really reflect adults.
Right. Well, when we get back, we're going to continue to talk to you on some things, but I want to bring Chris into the conversation. But we're going to go to a break here from our sponsors, and we'll be right back on Town Talk. Please come back and join us.
I'm going to have to get you guys out.
For those of you who are streaming with us, welcome back. We're going to continue to talk about some Chamber of Commerce activities we've got going on. Had a fantastic program yesterday. Were you there? You weren't there yesterday. You were, James, on Canva. We had Jamie Lane from our Lake Norman Economic Development come out and talk about how to use Canva to promote and market your business. It's another way to create brochures and JPEGs and things that you can put on your social media. And I got to tell you, Jamie showed up. She had this Mac computer, and she didn't have the little adapter that we use to be able to put it on with the LCD player. So she had to switch. Everything was on her computer. She had to switch over to a PC, my computer. Now, she still was able to access the internet, but if you're not familiar with this other computer and you're putting on a presentation and there's like 35 people in the room, I don't know how she did that. but she did a great program. And, you know, last year in 2023, we had 33 seminars, 33 different professional development seminars. But she did a fantastic job. Our Focus Friday last week, you know, we continue every third Friday to put on a program where we provide an opportunity for people to hear about community and legislative issues. Last week it was our 3 mayors, and so we had Rusty Knox from Davidson, Christy Clark, our new mayor from Huntersville, Woody Washam right here in Cornelius came out and talked about what they're doing, infrastructure, roads, everything that we have to support business development. So that was a pretty good program. We're going to have our police departments, Chris, next month, where they're going to come out third Friday. They're going to talk about what's going on in our communities and regarding to policing. So that's some of the things going on. Friday, February 23rd, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, again, coming up in just a couple of days. We're going to have a ribbon cutting for Southern Tide as we welcome Melissa Barrier and her team to the Huntersville community. And they're going to have merchandise for sale. And then on Wednesday, February 28th, Tiana Jackson and her new business, Everball, is going to be coming to the Huntersville community and another ribbon cutting. 52 ribbon cuttings last year in 2023. 52 ribbon cuttings. So, again, and Solonia, you and Sam are at a lot of our ribbon cuttings. Welcoming this. And y'all had your ribbon cutting this past year.
We surely did, yes.
What does it mean in the time we have left for a business to be able to open their new business? How did it make you feel when everybody came out and you were able to cut the ribbon on your business?
Celebrated.
Yeah.
And that feels good. It feels good to be celebrated for something that you worked hard for and to know that you have people that are behind you to support you. And you're not in it alone. Community.
Yeah.
Yes.
James, did we ever get a ribbon cutting for you? Did we ever?
We did not.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to do that.
Yeah, 2024, we'll actually open one up.
Yes.
We're actually thinking about doing something with University City Partners. So they're trying to get us into their building.
Okay. William, how much time we got left in here? 1 minute. So we've got some other time that we can still be talking about things. We've got a new member orientation Thursday, February 29th, 4 o'clock to 5:30. A new member orientation. That's for the new members who joined last quarter, but it's also for people who are existing members. So even though you've been a member for now going on a year, if you want to come out and find out how to really get the most out of your membership investment, how to put things onto the website and things of that nature, please come on out. Solonia, I know you and Sam will be there because, again, it's another networking opportunity.
And it's a great way to meet new business owners.
That is a great way. And we go around the room and we share, you know, one thing we do our little 60-second elevator speech so everybody gets to share a little bit about who they are and what they do. So we got that going on February 29th. For those of you streaming with us, we're going back live in just about 15 seconds. Thanks for being with us today on Town Talk.
WSIC with Town Talk. Join in the conversation by calling 844-STUDIO-4. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Town Talk. I'm your host, Bill Russell. I'm here with Solonia Wade-Baskins, the owner of Progressive Business Finance, Chris Hailey, owner of Lucius-James Consulting, and James Smith, founder of My Outdoor Joy. And Chris, I have said many, many times that you and I are brothers from a different mother. I mean, we might be different skin colors, but I tell you, James, Chris is kind of an anomaly. He is a conservative Republican, ran for, was it a Senate seat? What'd you run for?
The sheriff.
You ran for sheriff.
Yes.
As a Republican candidate.
Yeah.
You know, you have a criminal justice background. You were in the Highway Patrol for, was it 20 years?
15.
15 years, Highway Patrol. Then ran the Criminal Justice Center at Central Piedmont Community College. Lucius-James, that's one of the things you have on the side. I think you do this with your son.
Yes.
Share what you do. What is Lucius-James Consulting?
Well, it started out as fun. We started out doing church security. And so at the church that we were attending, we want to make sure that the pastor and the deacon, the deaconess, everybody was safe, that no one would bring guns into the facility. So that's how it all started. And because at the end of the day, on Sundays, who comes to church? You got people with mental illness, everybody from the community. Everything that happens in the community comes to church. So that's how we started. So church security is one thing, and secondly is criminal background. I'm sorry, criminal background checks for small businesses, and that can be realtors, CPA, small companies, and so forth. Because you want to make sure you know who are working with your small businesses. It's very important.
And if somebody wanted to get a hold of you in terms of that service, how would they contact you for Lucius-James?
Lucius-James Consultant at gmail.com. That's LuciusJamesConsulting at gmail.com. Lucius-James Consultant.
How long have you had that company, Chris?
We started out in 2000. In 2000. And, of course, you heard about all the church shootings and so forth that are happening. One just happened in Texas at Joel Osteen Church. At one point, they would happen quite frequently. And so business really ramped up at that time. And so a lot of things you have to look at. Someone coming into church with a big coat during the summertime. A lot of different things. Some churches would call me just to come in to test their security. And believe me, I got some horror stories with that. One particularly one in Mint Hill, I went. It was a predominantly white congregation, and I came in as a black male new, and they watched me the whole time. I went to the bathroom. They sent somebody there, but which was good. But at the same time, if I was someone new that wanted to join the church, now you have ran me away as being a minority. So little things like that I consult on, and it really helps the church as a whole.
And that's not all you do. You also have a role with Atrium Health. Atrium
Health, absolutely. I'm the director over security for the Southern District, which is Pineville, Matthews, Mint Hill area, also down into South Carolina, Rock Hill, Valentine, Steel Creek, the Southern District.
I shared a little bit about your background with the Highway Patrol in Central Piedmont, but you talk about share a little bit about how you got into this role, maybe leading up to CPCC.
Oh boy, it's a divine intervention for as law enforcement is concerned. My roommate, we just graduated from college. My roommate said, "Hey, look, I'm going out and apply for the police department." He said, "Do you want to come along?" And it was hot that day, had nothing to do. And I said, of course. So I got in the car and I went down. And when we got there, we had a black female that told me, she said, "Come over here." And I went over to see what she wanted. She said, "Here, fill out this interest card." I said, "Ma'am, I don't think I need to do that," because I was halfway high that day, Bill, after smoking marijuana. I was one of those type of people, I didn't smoke a lot, but, I did. And I did.
Everybody's hearing this.
I understand. I understand. Coming out of college, smoking a little marijuana, take the edge off. And so I filled it out, and the process started from there.
Right.
That's why I call it a divine intervention, because it's the best job I have ever had. I really enjoy law enforcement, and I made a career out of it. And so from there, I was at the Highway Patrol's Training Academy, and Central Piedmont called me to help start the Forensics Institute there. You might remember Lily Johnson.
Yeah.
And so I stayed with Central Piedmont for about 15 years, and I retired as a state employee there.
CP Maracas campus has really grown. I mean, you look at it now, but see the additions that's been on it since Beverly Dixon was there. What a transformation of that particular campus.
Absolutely.
Talk about some of the things, and I know you're not representing CPCC, but talk about some of the things that Maracas campus offers right here in Huntersville.
Well, they provide public safety training for law enforcement officers, firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, you name it, anything dealing with public safety. We serve federal law enforcement officers. I'm talking about we, like I'm still there. Federal, state, and local officers, particularly the local ones. And firefighters, volunteer firefighters, we provide their certification.
Many of our police and firefighters here in Cornelius Davis, Huntersville come through CPCC.
Come through CPCC, and it's one of the best programs that you can go to. And we produce very good officers.
James, we got about 5 minutes before we go to another hard break, but this program just would not be what I wanted to be without you sharing your trip to Mount Kilimanjaro, because I've heard you talk about it. You came to a diversity lunch and learn, and you threw it out on the table. You talked about some of the things you did. Share a little bit about that story.
That was so. Let me start off with Kilimanjaro. Kilimanjaro is one of the 7 summits on the planet, and I've done 2 of the 7 summits. Kilimanjaro is really supposed to be the easiest of the 7. Well, at about 18,000 feet, I decided as I was walking up that I got altitude sickness, but I didn't just get altitude sickness. I started to hallucinate. And the problem was I was hallucinating that I was getting into the bath. So I decided to get into my birthday suit at -5 degrees Fahrenheit as I was literally being held down as they were trying to redress me. If you could imagine being on top of a volcano walking around, showing everything. And so it was a great experience. I mean, I ultimately got to the top, but we had a great time. And there were 12 of us that went. And with the exception of myself, all of them were brand new to the outdoors. Every last one of them. So,
And you're the one who hallucinated?
oh yeah, they had other problems. I was the one who hallucinated. I think it was the stress of being able to watch them. I'm
Yes.
like, please don't get hurt. Don't. But we had a fantastic time. It was not what the brochures told us it would be. Turned out to be a little harder than the brochures, but it was fantastic. And it really shows that if you're willing, you can learn so many things in the outdoors. Now, they didn't go on day one. We trained for about a year, and the experience, I think, changed a lot of us. And the one thing that I've always said is I'm going to go back in 2026 and do it again because I'm a glutton for punishment. But one of the things when you do these huge trips is you oftentimes forget where you're at because you're so pressed to get to the summit. You're so pressed to get to that next campsite. You oftentimes forget it. And I've got some great pictures, and I look at the pictures and I'm always trying to figure out, well, who took this picture? Because I was so focused that we've lost that experience to some extent. But these trips that we do as a company are extraordinary. Next year, I'm wearing my shirt. We're actually heading to Alaska next year to do Denali, see the Aurora Borealis, to do the Polar Express. Everybody's coming as a newbie, and we are going to have a great time. And for those people who want to do Kilimanjaro, I often talk about this because it just was a great experience.
James, I've been told that trips to Africa are just amazing. And did you ever do any other safaris or get out in the land and see some of the
We
things?
did. So after Kilimanjaro, and we rested a few days, we did 3 days of safari. It was so impactful that I'm going again this year in August, and I'm bringing 22 people with me in the company who are going, and we'll do safari. We're going to actually do a basic hike, just a little one, to get them to the base camp of Kilimanjaro. 4 miles, they're not going very far. But that experience is going to be life-changing because we're actually going to stay in the Serengeti for half of the trip. So we'll be in tent villages that entire time.
I've heard it's absolutely beautiful. Robin and Jack Salzman that we were talking about just a little while ago, I think they just got back from a trip to Africa, but they talked about how just absolutely gorgeous it is. For those of you who are with us on Town Talk, we're going to be going to our sponsors and hearing a little bit from them, and then we're going to come back and talk to Chris Hailey. Please come back on Town Talk. For those of you streaming with us, thank you for staying with us. Coming up, I talked about the new member orientation, February 29th, Thursday, February 29th. Later that night is our Lake Norman Young Professionals group Off the Clock Social. The Lake Norman Young Professionals is an organization that provides opportunities for young professionals to develop socially and professionally in our community. And they typically meet, I think, on the second Tuesday at 6:30, usually at 11 Lakes. Have you gotten out and talked to any of our young professionals?
We did a program a few weeks ago, and so hopefully we'll get back and we'll do a little bit more over the next few weeks or so. We're going to actually have a lot of community outreach because we've gotten so much interest, way above what we've ever anticipated. So we're going to do a lot of community outreach over the next few months.
Solonia, do you and Sam, do y'all go backpacking? Do you take advantage of the outdoors?
So I have a really good story. Our daughter went camping. So she said, I want to be a Girl Scout. And I said, I want you to be a Girl Scout. I really love that. And I said, so we're going to go and check it out until our first time going camping. So we went camping for a weekend. I don't think it was a real campground. I think it was just, we had cell phone and, but I'm not a bug person. So the 8-legged spider thing, that didn't work for me. So when we got back, I stayed covered up the whole time. See, I needed the queen size bed. That's what I needed. I was sleeping on the floor. So when we got back, I told her, baby, we're not going to do camping. I told her, let's do swimming or basketball or volleyball or something else until you get older and I don't have to go with you camping. So
Now, we got about 60 seconds. Chris, you strike me as somebody who is very much an outdoors guy.
I love outdoors. Playing sports, coming up, that's all we did. You know, coming up as a child, you had to stay outdoors. You couldn't come in the house, you know, coming in and out. So, yeah.
Did you take advantage of Wadesboro and all the recreational opportunities there?
Absolutely. We taught ourselves how to play sports.
Yep.
That's all we had.
Camping? Did you go camping?
We went camping. I was a Boy Scout.
Oh, you're a Boy
camping,
Scout.
yes.
Did you make it Eagle Scout?
No, never made it that far. No.
All right. Well, again, thank y'all very much for being here. We got another session that we're going to go into in just a second. I think we got about 10 seconds left or so. Those of you streaming with us, we're going back to Town Talk in about 15 seconds.
Call now to speak with Lake Norman Chamber President Bill Russell at 844 Studio 4. It's Town Talk on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back to Town Talk. I'm Bill Russell, your host. I have Solonia Wade-Baskins, the owner of Progressive Business Finance, Chris Hailey, owner of Lucius-James Consulting, James Smith, founder of My Outdoor Joy. Chris, we're celebrating Black History Month, and I opened up talking about Malcolm X. And September 20th, 2016, protest and rioting occurred throughout Charlotte. Keith Lamont Scott, 43-year African-American man, was shot, killed by police, Charlotte-Mecklenburg police. They said that he exited a vehicle and he had a handgun and he refused to, they asked him to drop it and he refused to comply. Some social media accounts said that he was holding a book, that was not a gun. They later came back, I think 4 days after the shooting, they released camcorder footage that showed that, yes, he had a marijuana cigarette, he had a holster, he had a gun, fingerprints on it. It took 4 days though. But within that 4 days, we had peaceful demonstrations, but we had riots across Charlotte. And I'm watching Facebook Live and I'm seeing all of this. And my diversity chair of the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce was Chris Hailey. And I called Chris Hailey up, and I remember this. I said, Chris, what is going on? I mean, I thought we were so far removed from this. Chris, what did you say to me?
First thing I said, Bill, it's going to happen. It's not if it's going to happen, but when. Mm-hmm. And you got to be able to see it from the lens of the people who are involved. You being a white male, and me being a black male, you know, you have to be able to see it from different lenses. And so that was it there. We knew it was going to happen. It was going to happen again. And it did. We had other protests since then. Mm-hmm. And so it may not happen here, but it's not if it's going to happen again, it's when. And we're still in that same era where it's still going to happen.
James, we, within the next week or so, we had a meeting at Torrance Chapel AME Zion Church here in Cornelius, and I think it was Gary McFadden. He is a retired detective with the police department in Charlotte, a black man. Again, spent his whole career with the police department, and he told a story that just absolutely shocked me. He said that if he came up on a traffic stop at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, and it was manned by white officers, the hairs on his arm would just rise, and he would just be a nervous wreck. And he's a police officer being stopped by other policemen. And that just, I couldn't believe that. And the other thing that struck me, and I still remember this from those years ago, I was taught as a child, if you get separated from your parents, if something happens and you see that officer over there, you run to him, he or she will take care of you. But if you're a black male and you see an officer, you might want to go in a different direction. I had never thought about it like that.
That's the way we're, as black people, that's our world. And it's those lenses again. You know, you have to live our lives. Growing up in Wadesboro was pretty much the same way. Because you remember back then, you know, the black officers only patrolled the black areas, and the white officers, they can go anywhere they wanted to. So law enforcement, there was a lot of prejudice and racism in law enforcement when it comes to opposite races. And it still exists today. We still have racist officers out there. Some people say that black people can't be racist. That's very debatable, but it happens. Racist stuff happen on both sides.
You know, when you ran for office, you ran for sheriff as a Republican, and you talked about the challenges that you faced in your own community with your friends and family and cohorts.
That's correct. You got to remember, I grew up, black people historically are very conservative people. My two parents are they were the two biggest Democrats I ever knew, but they were the most conservative I have ever seen. So that's how I became who I was and still is today based on my upbringing.
But totally grounded in faith and family, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally grounded. Kept us in church. Just some things, things have changed now. When it was just, everything was very conservative. My dad and I used to have a debate all the time, listen to the news. And I enjoyed it because here you are, this big Democrat, but you got all these conservative views, Republican views. And when I called him on it, well, but like in high school, my high school history teacher, when we first registered to vote, he told us, he was a white male. He said, you black, you vote Democrat. And, like today, my son is in high school, he registered. And I said, no, you're independent, because at this point of your life, you don't know which one you are. I said, and life experiences would tell you or teach you which direction you should go. So, but if you look at African-American families, they're very conservative, but their action and the way they vote is totally different.
James, you, with My Outdoor Joy, you take people of both races, all kinds of different backgrounds and cultures. They go with you on trips to places they've never gone before. Yeah. Do you feel like they're totally at ease with you?
For the most part. I think I've built up a level of credibility over the years, and that breaks through a lot of the barriers. However, the presumptions of who I am are always shocking. I've gotten to the point now where if I'm requested to speak at an event, my first request is don't put my picture anywhere on the venue, the desk, the platform, because one of the things, my icebreaker is when they announce me, I walk up and I said, okay, by a show of hands, how many people expected me? It is the best opening line that I've ever had. And the room usually laughs because I'm not what they expect. And it talks about a bias that we all have.
Sure.
And so if we can talk about those biases, it is very helpful to express them, to talk about them, because most people will say they don't have them. And then when I walk up and I can see, their teeth hitting the ground, at that point you can't deny it. So it is definitely something that's there, but we're working through it slowly but surely. Sure. And I think for me, the people that come out, have said to themselves, okay, the guy's super credible. Let's, what do we have to lose?
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing.
Solonia, not only are you African American, you're female, and you've started a business. How challenging was that for you, or did you find that those barriers have been broken? Tell me about it.
No, absolutely. First, like you said, I'm African American and I'm a female. And so a lot of people say that is 2 strikes against you. But one thing I've learned is that to get out of my own head. And so I make a conscious decision to get out of my own head. And so one thing I tell business owners that I want them to take with them when networking is that if you put a blinder on you and you just talk to people, you would be surprised who was your most helpful, who was most valuable, and who was most supportive when you take that blinder off. So do not be biased. Do not be prejudiced. Just go out, get out of your own head, and allow yourself to grow, expand, and network and meet people. Because it takes 2. I mean, I'm saying it takes all of us, not just Black race, not just Caucasian race, but it takes a unified community and world to make a change. And that's in anything you do in life.
Chris, when all that went down in 2016 and people said, are you concerned as the president of the Chamber of Commerce that type of thing will happen here? And let me just say this, it can happen anywhere. There's no place that is immune from that strike up. And a lot of times, it's the communities that you are least likely that they do. But I said, I don't think it'll happen here because we have a great community working together. So you have Ada Jenkins Center, an outreach center. You have Unity and Community. There's pulling people together. You have our Diversity Council of the Chamber of Commerce. And the biggest thing that I really feel like we have going for us is our police officers and our police agencies here, the departments, with the National Night Out, bringing the officers out to the public so that the kids and so that the families can meet everybody. And I think when you got that level of policing, that makes a difference. And again, you were the Criminal Justice Center. I don't know who was behind pushing. I know National Night Out is a national organization, but I think that goes and makes tremendous strides to bringing the community together.
I agree. All of that you stated is perfect for the community, but this place is prime for something like that to happen, the rioting, and so forth. The only thing it takes is one minority person to get shot by a white police officer, and there you go.
So we're not there yet.
No, not at all. Not at all. And it can happen here just as quick as anywhere else.
Yeah. We've got less than a minute left. The mentor in your life, really quickly. Who was the mentor in your life?
My dad.
Yeah.
Raised 10 kids, supported every last one of them. I mean, who in the world gonna raise 10 kids?
Your father. James, mentor in your life.
Without a doubt, it was my dad. Not even close.
Without a doubt, your dad.
My mom.
Your mom.
My mom. Strong, powerful Black woman. Silent, but very powerful.
Powerful. I tell you, I can't thank each of you enough. Your year as years, not just years, a diversity chair, your involvement in the Chamber of Commerce and what you're doing too. James, thank you for being here today. If it's Wednesday afternoon, we're talking about Our Towns on Town Talk, WSIC. We'll see you next week.
Serving you better than ever before. WSIC, Statesville, W290DK Morrisville, W216.